and conversational. So if there's a question as I'm going through the content that you have top in mind, drop it in the chat or feel free. I promise you, feel free, come off mute so we can answer them in real time. And I'll try to also provide us at least with about 10 minutes at the end for us to do a Q&A together. All righty. So Philanthropy Together and Grapevine, we are like best friends, okay? We're in this movement together in terms of just really trying to strengthen the network and the movement of giving circles, which is not a trend, but a whole movement. And you all are a huge part of that. And we just thank you for the work that you're doing in your respective groups. So Philanthropy Together, Grapevine, as you all know, is the platform that most giving circles that you all use to bring your folks together and pull your donations or whatnot. But with Philanthropy Together, consider us like field catalysts. So we work alongside with Grapevine to democratize and diversify philanthropy through the power of giving circles. We have tons, y'all, tons. You can go over to our website, tons of tools for you. We facilitate collective conversations that I do every single month. We have racial equity training that we do every single month. We have a resource library for you all that has templates and tools and languages and things like that, chug and plug items for you all to help strengthen your work. So we solely exist for y'all, and I have to lift that up. And we officially launched right after COVID in April 2020 as a global initiative, again, to strengthen collective giving. And so I have to root us in our work because, again, without you all and the need for and the things that you're doing within your group, we wouldn't exist. And a lot of our core values is really rooted in diversity, equity, inclusion, and injustice, for us to create this wonderful world that we all wish to see that's kinder, more generous, and really doing positive things. All righty. So I should also start that Philanthropy Together. Next slide, Gabby. Philanthropy Together. In my role, I serve as, whoa. Let me back up into that, y'all. I guess that's the next slide. Here's some basic framing on what is a giving circle, y'all. If you don't know anything about like the true definition of a giving circle, we have a wonderful resource. It's called whatisagivingcircle.com. That is part of Philanthropy Together. I know I'm preaching to the choir here because you all know about giving circles, but to our allies, for our new members and people that we're trying to bring into our work, this is a phenomenal tool to use. And so head on over to whatisagivingcircle.com, and you can even embed it on your website and just use it. All righty, Gabby, next slide. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. So in my role as Director of Engagement, y'all, I'm responsible for really doing just this, facilitating conversations and building community. And so I come from a place of, yes, my role as Director of Engagement Philanthropy Together, but prior to me even joining this amazing organization, I have a giving circle. And we are called Heritage Giving Fund. My giving circle is based in my home state. I'm here in Dallas, y'all. It's 106 degrees, by the way. Stressful. The kids start school. They start school tomorrow. So we're all the things. We're in this together. But I'm based here in Dallas, Texas, and Heritage. We have about we started during Black Philanthropy Month in 2017, and we're a group of Black women that pull our resources together, time, talent, treasure, testimonies, all of that, to advocate for organizations that are led by Black women who serve women and girls throughout North Texas. And so since we started, we've given out about a little bit over $150,000 to 16 organizations that are in that space. And the organizations that we support are very grassroots, y'all. I don't know who you all are funding, but we're looking for those organizations with small budgets, and we serve as first funders for those organizations. And so these are my sisters of what we do. And I share that story, next slide, Gabby, because we facilitate hard conversations all the time. Matter of fact, when we started Heritage, we were asked, we had to justify. People asked us, why are y'all creating a space and y'all are only funding organizations that were led by Black women? That was a hard conversation, right? for us and our members all the time to have with people and advocate and explain why we were creating a space to fund organizations that were led by Black women. And a lot of that was rooted in the inequities that exist here in Dallas. Our city is very segregated on income and race, and the philanthropic community here is no different than that. And so I'm sharing this, y'all, in real life. As I share, the way that I facilitate these conversations is heritage, the culture of our giving circle, which is a culture of Black women supporting Black women and girls, is very rooted in intentional conversations like this. We have an upcoming conversation where we're going to be talking about mother-daughter relationships. That's a hard conversation and things that we have to talk about, y'all. I'll be facilitating that conversation with a therapist, Alicia Woodall. We have sipping socials. Next slide, Gabby. We have had conversations, y'all, about Black Philanthropy Month, about self-care, about fibroids, Black women and fibroids. Like, these are things that are hard conversations, but when facilitated with those with lived experiences and those who have a lot experience and the passion combined with that, we can have some conversations where all of us can learn and grow from it. So that's my testimony. I just want to share y'all with how this is happening in real life within my giving circles. And I'm with you all as you all are moving forward with having conversations within your community. Alrighty, so the first piece of our workshop today is we have to start with the culture. In order for us to even talk about the art of facilitation, especially within your giving circles, we have to start with the culture, y'all. Nothing happens in a vacuum. We can't even talk about facilitation without the culture piece, because the culture piece, as I shared with Heritage, is in alignment. The culture of your giving circle and the facilitation and the workshops and the conversations that you have, they should align with your values and the culture of your giving circle. So build your culture, and then once you build your culture and you have anchored that, then we can talk about all the things that's necessary and what we want to talk about. Next slide, Gabby. So culture is the shared set of assumptions, y'all, values and shared beliefs of your giving circle. The culture shapes how you organize yourself, how you show up for your community. Your culture dictates how people will engage with your giving circle. It's going to dictate how you even interact with one another as members, as leaders. It's going to dictate how your members, how, when, where you meet. The tone at the top establishes your giving circle all the way through and through. And that starts with you all with leadership and your governing principles and values around that. I can't stress that enough. Your giving circle culture, y'all, because sometimes, which I train hundreds of people how to start giving circles. And I always drive a point home about the importance of your values and your culture, because everything else wraps around that. It should. Okay. So that being said, again, from your leadership, the governance, y'all, your partnership, your processes, your meeting style, literally how you facilitate your meetings, your membership, how you are onboarding your new members, your language, the visuals. You guys, I shared my graphics of our visuals, right? It's very on brand with us being a culture of Black women. And so your giving circle should be similar in these pieces of the values and your beliefs and all the things. Now, culture is not only internal to our giving circles, though. It also extends out with how we show up in the world. People will, I promise you, they watch us as leaders and they see the way that we're moving. You can't show up one way in your giving circle, and then you're out in the world on LinkedIn and you have a whole different way in how you show up. So how we work in our communities is the extension of our circles culture, and the way that we communicate when we use social media, y'all, on our print materials, our website, infographics, brochures, all of those events are tied to your circles culture. Does that make sense? Okay. So what's some sample culture attributes? All right. These look like values. Because a lot of them are. But these are some sample culture values. So if you and yourself, if I ask you a question right now, what's the culture of your giving circle? And y'all say, you don't know, then I would encourage you to start thinking about that. And these are examples. Do you want your giving circle to be caring, casual, comfortable, fun, friendly, formal, supportive, traditional, positive? Like what does those attributes look like within your giving circle, and how are they going to show up? Now, how you start is not how you're going to end. And I should note that the culture of your organization and your circle might change. So this will evolve partially naturally, y'all, as our circles grow in our size. Heritage is not the same circle we was in 2017. We're just not. Our members have grown, some of us, right? Like our membership, our formality has changed. We're no longer hosted by a community foundation. We're totally separate. So a lot of evolution takes place with these attributes as well, but you can also build this proactively and intentionally. All right, so the first piece. So now that we're rooted in who we are, we're rooted in the culture. We know what we want to stand for. We know how we want to show up. So then once from there, we're going to open up what you consider facilitation, right? Everyone, I would argue that facilitation should not be a top down, especially not within a giving circle. Everyone can play a role. Everyone has a voice. Every moment counts. And so that being said, we have this decision point around our guiding values of what is your guiding values in the culture, because then that should mirror how and what you consider as facilitation. And it should be with the collective in mind. So we start there because it's foundational with how we'll move forward. So take a look at it in this way. Within a giving circle, next slide, Gabby. Within a giving circle, we have some key moments of facilitation that are very unique to our spaces, to giving circles. And I put them in these 4 buckets because I like to compartmentalize a lot of the things that I talk about. So the first key piece is the grounding, right? Is us when we are doing the level setting of our giving circle. When we are bringing on new members, that norm setting, what are those norm practices? Are you a circle that is leaning into trust-based philanthropy and equity? Like, is that a normal, right? It's that, what does our agendas look like month to month, right? And so those basic structural pieces, that's the first key moment of our facilitation, is just that grounding piece. Once we have that structure, then we move to another key moment, and that looks like cultivating relationships with one another, building community with one another, setting the culture of our giving circle. And then from there, we put our sleeves up and we start doing the work. Not that all of the other 2 pieces are not, but this decision and the discussion piece is a huge piece of our giving circle, right? It's like when we discuss the issues that we are working to find, when we talk and decide collectively what organizations are going to receive our funding, when we're going to give them out a grant, and what we're going to do as beyond the grant support, if any, to these grantee partners. And then the last key moment is follow up and follow through. This is huge because a lot of times whenever we are within our groups and we are after the decision making, how are we following up with our members? How are we following up with ourselves, with our grantee partners? And so these are all kind of 4 key moments of facilitation that you should keep in mind as you work towards and build consensus. Next slide. Now, once I'm pulling out the decision-making piece, because as I said, that's really the uniqueness of most giving circles, is the very democratic and consensual way and how we decide and make decisions. So we should be considering the type of decisions that we are making within our giving circle. When we are thinking about our decisions, y'all, 3 things that kind of questions we should be asking ourselves. Is this a timely decision? Like, do we need to make this decision about like right now? Okay. And if so, then what that should look like is you clarifying the decisions and who ultimately is responsible for creating the space and teeing us up to even make those decisions, right? And then there's 2 different kind of ways and how we would operate on those kind of decision makings, whether it is a straw proposal, which is, of course, if you've never heard of like a straw proposal, it basically is a brainstorming technique. It's where we like generate discussions or whatnot collectively, and then we together kind of decide, like we generate the ideas, and you'll see example of that when I show y'all the Jamboard and how we can kind of make decisions around that. Or if it is a gradient of like agreement, which is basically a group decision that's supported with everyone deciding where they are on the spectrum around that decision. So are the decisions timely? Is it hard? Is it going to be a hard decision that we need to make? If so, if this decision is hard, then the environment and the space, like when y'all are having conversations about what organizations that we would like to fund, once your members nominate the organizations, that's a hard decision, because what if y'all have like 100, everyone nominate an organization and y'all got to get that down to 10? That's a hard decision, right? And so y'all will have to gather individual thinking, right? Because everyone has a voice. They've decided they voted for that nonprofit. But then what does that decision making look like? You guys are going to have to synthesize and organize and share that feedback. And what does that look like? And then the last piece of questions around the decision making is who will be involved in making it. Is it all members? As it's, most giving circles, every member has a voice, but some of them have committees within the giving circle. Members, some of them are structured in a way where members nominate, but then the governing committee makes a decision. But that all depends on your giving circle, right? And so if it's everyone, then maybe you need to go smaller and have little breakout groups or whatnot within your giving circle. Then come back to the whole and decide and share what y'all decided from your breakout groups. But again, y'all, it's not from the top down. Think beyond leadership. Everyone within your giving circle should be involved in the decision making in some shape or form. Okay, let me check the chat real quick. Make sure y'all still with me. All right, Susan, how do you qualify smaller organizations? A very short way to answer that, Susan, is your giving circle. Going back to your values, your values decide on the organizations that you'll fund, right? Your values really help your giving circle set the criteria of the organizations you will fund. For instance, if your giving circle is focused on justice and equity and blah, things like that, okay, well, then the organizations that you would fund, right, will kind of fall within those buckets. Are you like Heritage supporting smaller grassroots organizations with budgets less than 1 million or budgets less than 500K, right? Those are kind of you're putting the parameters, the criteria around the organizations. That way your members will know, okay, and as they are thinking about the organizations that they want to recommend, it's in alignment with the criteria that you all have already set within your giving circle. All your members should know who y'all fund, what you stand for, right? And so that helps y'all to then qualify smaller organizations or, bring down the number of organizations that would then qualify you all for funding. And I would strongly encourage all of you all to strongly consider funding grassroots or smaller organizations, because I promise you, a lot of us are their first funders. And we have seen a domino effect of when we give those organizations the opportunity, what they can do with it. Happy to talk more about that, Susan.
Aisha, do you suggest looking for Susan to look at a tool like Charity Navigator or something to look at budgets, or what?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, organizations like Charity Navigator are good, y'all, because they have the 990 information that is directly from the IRS posted to their websites and such. The only thing with Charity Navigators and databases like that is that the nonprofits have to self-elect to participate in the databases. So some of the nonprofit organizations that's in our backyard that's doing very good work, they're not on Charity Navigator. So that's where your members come in. That's why it's so good for us to be rooted in community, to know what's going on and what organizations are doing the work, y'all. And then another piece, I'm going off, y'all, but I'm coming back. Another piece of that is whenever we find amazing organizations, will be to then encourage them, y'all, get on Charity Navigator so that more people can find them, right? So we gotta help these organizations, not only with increasing their capacity and their visibility through us, through our love and support around them, but also advocating for them to come into these systems like Charity Navigator, where they can be found by even more people. Lisa, I do too. We love our smaller nonprofits, our awards. Oh, I would love to hear about your awards, Lisa. I love that too. Thank you. And I love that. Yeah, y'all, I love it. I love that the consensus, even in the chat right here, is for supporting smaller organizations and sharing that. Yep, I do the same that with sharing events. When I get in funders, whenever I have the space and I'm in front of a big funder, I promise you I'm dropping seeds and, shamelessly plugging in the organizations and people that anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. That was good. All right, what are we talking about? All right, consensus, right? Consensus within a giving circle. I should start off with, not start off, but let me differentiate between consensus and consent, because a lot of folks are like, it's the same, and it's not. A consensus is all of your members, y'all. All of your members will agree on and actively support a proposal, right? So, and then with the consent though, everyone can live with it. I can it's kind of like the members when they decide, if they, as y'all are encouraging your members, for example, hey, nominate a nonprofit, right? That's consensus. You're trying to get all your members. And then some members, for whatever reason, they don't nominate a nonprofit. And then when it comes time to vote, then they're like, and guess what? They got to consent. They have to live with that. Right. And so that's the difference. It is consensus in that you were asked and everyone was asked to be a part of it. But if you don't participate, then you just might have to consent and live with it. And it is what it is, even if you have a strong objection to that. Right. Next slide, Gabby. But the goal is for us to lean into consensus, y'all, and that patience and empathy around that. Because when we do that, when we all can agree, right? And so this spectrum, I kind of got a little diagram for y'all to look at the consensus of the effects of that, of us being able to implement, to move forward, right? We're going to agree. We're going to agree, even if there's reservations. I don't know, Ty, I agree, but okay, right? But it's still consensus because we agree at the end of the day. But consent means that we stand on the wayside. We kind of we're staying aside. We're outside of the general consensus piece, and we're standing outside and saying that we have to live with it. We're okay. Even though you see consent is still within the circle though. Y'all see that? So consent is not negative sometimes, because I know sometimes with some of the giving circles I do troubleshooting with, they're like, well, she, my member, she didn't feel that she was on a side. Listen, they're still part of the giving circle. And so that's where us and the culture of our giving circle and all of those kind of things will still make them feel included, even if they are outside of the consensus pieces of the decision-making. Lord, I hope I'm making sense. And then if you don't have no consent, then you just block, it is what it is. That's just, you're just blocked if you're not participating. Gabby, I actually skipped this slide because for time, I'm really trying to get to our Q&A. All right, so something else that I want for y'all to think about is the hidden power dynamics. There's some hidden power, there's some dynamics, y'all. We're funders. Y'all do know that, right? Y'all are funders. And so with funding, you have power. All of us have power. And with that power, we need to consider the hidden dynamics that come along with that, i.e., race, gender, class, ability, age, geography, education, the leadership position that you have within your giving circle. Consider and think about those possible hidden power dynamics that might show up when you are in these positions where you are making some decisions and building consensus. And so next slide, Gabby. To avoid, and not avoid, we don't avoid, to ensure that we are addressing some of those hidden power dynamics. These are 3 ways and how I really think that we can kind of be disruptive with those. The first is to develop community agreements. That is a best practice that even we have within our giving circle. Even we have it here at Philanthropy Together. Before we pop on, we have some community agreements. All right, y'all, when I do a facilitation, okay, you know, we talk about the importance of, you know, of making space for everyone, taking a step back, having some water, right? Like things like that. Community agreements are very important, y'all, with how when you are facilitating spaces, because it tells everybody how we're going to show up for this short amount of time that we're together, right? So I would strongly recommend y'all develop some community agreements for your giving circle around how you are going to facilitate meetings. And then that really helps us to then work to build strong relationships within a giving circle. That helps us to break down power dynamics. When people trust you, when people really, really do trust you, then they'll see your heart and your attention in a way to where even if some power dynamics show up, because they know you, because they have a relationship with you, then they're less likely to be offended or feel that there is some power plays at heart. I can't stress the importance of y'all getting to know one another. I know sometimes our circles are so big and it is what it is. You can't reach everybody, but even if y'all have to activate committees and double down and divide and conquer, we need to be figuring out ways and how we are really getting to know one another in these circles and not just, did you make your contribution? And then the last piece is to have a process to call in. So for instance, with my giving circle, whenever we are having hard conversations, or whether we're having our executive committee meeting or when we're having community conversations, we do have a process to call in. Call in means a safe place where we can pause, have a moment to bring it in, call it in. If somebody is feeling unsafe, somebody, you know, in the chat, someone's, I don't agree with this or that, and you feel, and that person keeps coming back, we don't ignore them. We call it in, we bring them in. Now that is going to look different for every last one of y'all giving circles. For us, for my giving circle, our executive team calls in. So we're always monitoring the conversations and that, and tag kind of teaming. And then we either, you know, directly one-on-one message the person, or if it's appropriate, we call that friction into the space in case somebody else is feeling it, so that we can address it and root it in love and address it in love, right? And then we can move on from it. And there's something about that call in piece, because it's real, it's transparent, that really makes people feel like, oh, wow, I was recognized. They address, right? And so it goes back to that second piece of building relationships with one another, because all of us want to be seen as humans, and we should be. All right, so this is what that kind of could look like with what I say, y'all, community agreements or whatnot. Some of the community agreements, like they might be like, be present, step up, step back, you know, call on each other. My glasses. Call each other in as we call each other out, right? Calling each other in, it's like, bring you into my heart. I mean, let me love on you, but I'm gonna hold you accountable, right? Like that's what that is when we say calling each other in, but calling each other out, right? Thanks, Gabby. Noticing those power dynamics, right? Assume best intentions. All of us should assume the best. We're all trying to figure it out. and living life, right? So we shouldn't have any ill thoughts about how people like just knock out any biases that you have about folks, right? And so think about this. This is just a sample of a community agreement. And Gabby's going to share the presentation so y'all can have this link and look at it. But there's other community agreements out there, y'all. Just find one that really aligns with the culture of your giving circle and what you're trying to do. Y'all still with me? Yes. All right. All right. So some useful, helpful facilitation tools that I personally have used and often use. I want you all to think about, lean into these amazing tools. Some of y'all have already, I probably feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but if you don't know, Mentimeter. Have y'all ever heard of Mentimeter? Show of hands. Let me look through this. Show of hands. All right, Jen, you, yep. Who else heard of Mentimeter? No? Okay. So Mentimeter is real good. Y'all love it. It's free. I'm sure they have like other, thanks, Jessica. Well, for all others, now you know, and thank me later. Mentimeter is really, really cool. You go on here and let's just say our values. I talked to y'all about values, right? And I was like, okay, how do we, let's just say, even us in this space right now, it's like 13 of us. How do we create shared values in a space like this? We can use Mentimeter. What it is, it's a tool. You'll go onto the website, mentimeter.com. You as the facilitator, you will have your own little link, and then you create the questions. This is actually from a Mentimeter. What are our shared values? That was a question that we have. And then you put in a question, you put the amount of responses that each person can have. You'll dictate that. They'll put like 1, 2, 3, or 4. You click 3. I like to do three values. And then when you're facilitating your conversation, you'll tell the people, here, here's the link. And then they literally just pull it up from their phone. They just have a little code and they're like, oh, look at this. And they have the link and then they drop in their shared values. And then the tool does its algorithm, IT things, and then it populates and bring in all of the responses from all of these members, those three shared values each. And it brings it into this machine. And that's what you see right there, where you see that for that group, equity, community, and trust are the shared values within a group. Right? I know, or at least I feel the same. So they have a word cloud function, y'all. They have polls. It's just really, really cool. So I encourage y'all to lean into Mentimeter as a facilitator must have in your back pocket for your giving circle. The next one is Jamboard. Google Jamboard. And it's free. Exactly, Gabby. And it's free. Love a good free tool. Jamboard is free too. Jamboard is free. And one of the things I love about Jamboard is because it saves your Jamboards. And so you can always go back and look at the Jamboards, and it's Google, right? So it's a link. It's always active. It's there. People can pop in, pop out as they want to. It's like a virtual post-it tool. And so use the Jamboard. So if you all are thinking about where should we have our, for our next grant and greet, what should we, what should we do? Or when should we have our next, or what are our thoughts about our theme, or whatever the case is, right? Have everybody ask the question, use a Jamboard. For the people that can't come to the meeting, you can send it out to them. They have access to it. Use Jamboard. It's free too. And then Padlet is cool. Isis, my colleague, she uses this a lot. I've used it several times or whatnot, but it also is it's like a real-time, it reminds me of like a pop-up conversational tool or whatnot. And so it's like a message board or something like that. Where let's just say it's like a discussion board for your giving circle. So y'all can ask all kinds of questions to one another, even fun questions. Remember I said fun, culture, fun. So use Padlet to like have fun conversations. When's your birthday? When's your anniversary? What's the best book you've read this summer, right? Things like that will help you to build deeper, warmer relationships with your members. So Padlet. So Mentimeter, Jamboard, Padlet, those are just a few, but I actually have a list of virtual tools. I'm going to drop it here in the chat. I have a list of virtual tools, and Gabby will send this out, that I've created. It's an ugly list, y'all. It's just on an Excel spreadsheet. But it does have a lot of the tools and such that I have personally used, and y'all can use as well. Just give me a second. Actually, I'll drop it in just a second. Let me get through my presentation. And then the last piece is Post-its, y'all. Like, this photo is real. It's not cropped. It's not teed up. It was at our team retreat. And every year Philanthropy Together, we get together somewhere and we have a huge ideation session. Literally, we don't set an agenda. We freely think. We sit with one another and freely think about y'all, what the field needs. What have we heard over the past year? What stood out to us? What programs would we like to have? What people, what speak, right? We just think so big. And I kid you not, we always have to find an Airbnb that has a wall for our Post-its because it's huge. And so we literally get there and we just ideate. And so I would just encourage y'all, even just with Post-its, if you are in person giving circle, the power of that. There's something very visual and just dynamic and powerful about posting, using Post-its in a whiteboard, believe it or not. I know everything is virtual, but some of the things still work. A whiteboard and Post-its and markers, colorful markers, especially not black. I mean it, y'all. The colors make a difference. So little stuff like that, and it's free. All righty, so I gave y'all some tools and such. Yes, for Marcus. Yes, Ben. So how are we going to lean into these conversations though? All right, so I feel confident that y'all kind of are anchored in the decision making and values and culture, and y'all got some good tools and stuff. But I just want to kind of wrap up this conversation by encouraging y'all that hard conversations really, really are revolutionary in terms of helping us to get comfortable about the things that we need to be uncomfortable about, right? And so hard conversations are necessary for us changing the world, essentially. I can't stress it enough. I feel like we have a lot of too much surface conversations. But when we really have hard conversations, y'all, and we lean into them and not avoid them and not act like we shouldn't be having them, we really can change the world. And we're changing ourselves, because that's what hard conversations do. It changes you first. And then from that change, then you can go out here and change the world. Next slide, Gabby. And so I would, as we are really, really thinking about hard conversations, y'all, and those hard conversations within your giving circle, we say hard, but it's just, challenging conversations that y'all need to talk through, recognizing that those conversations are really a gift, changing our mindset that this conversation is not problematic. Oh, I got another person, she's going to come in here, or he's going to come vent. Like, lean into those conversations and really figure out why somebody is feeling the way that they're feeling. And if it's something that keeps popping up, that's a conversation y'all need to have. So get with your leadership team and y'all figure it out how y'all going to have it and look at it as a gift. Lean back on your values. Remember your values. As you are really having hard conversations, stay true to your values. One of my life values is love and empathy. I really do, from the way I raise my children, how I show up at PTA, how I show up in my giving circle. I'm going to let love guide me, even with talking to you all. I count this as a blessing to love on you all in a way of how I'm facilitating this workshop, right? And so that's a value of mine. So y'all lean into your values. Focus on relationships. With hard conversations, pull up out of it in a way and see the person. Really see the person, see the human. That person is a gift and has thoughts and emotions that we have to understand that makes them the beautiful person that they are. And so focus on cultivating and building a relationship with them so you can better understand their intent and why they are thinking and why they're saying the things that they're saying. And then proactively discuss how to address conflict. Again, it goes back to those kind of community agreements or whatnot, when you all are really agreeing on how we're going to address conflict, and explicitly say it to your members. Y'all, when difficult conversations come up, we encourage you, blah, 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 and we will blah, 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 right? proactively. Notice we didn't say reactively. We said proactively, meaning get in front of it and discuss already how you're going to handle conversations and things that pop up. What are y'all going to do about that? What's going to happen? And then don't rush hard conversations, plan for a follow-up. Hard conversations require healing. Sometimes when we have conversations, we'll keep it there, hard conversations, and that's that. And the reality is that does harm. You have to close the loop of a hard conversation. So if we're having a conversation within our circle or whatnot, and I got you, Lisa. If we're having a hard conversation, and somebody, things, we can feel it, right? We feel that something is off. We have to follow up with that and recognize that. That could be an email, that could be a phone call. Hey, recognizing, thank y'all today for showing up in the space, being vulnerable. Lisa, in particular, thank you for raising your hand. Whatever that is, y'all see where I'm going with that? You acknowledge, call them out. And so you acknowledge what happened, conversations, and then plan a follow-up with how are you going to heal from that? Because that's another piece. Otherwise, we're just, perpetuating harm. And then that person goes out and says ill things about their experience with your circle. And we don't have time for that because we are too busy changing the world, folks. All right. And so that pretty much is it. I want to stop for a moment. I want to answer Lisa questions and any others that y'all have. Gabby's going to share this PowerPoint presentation. I hope y'all found it valuable. Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate you being here. All right, Lisa, what you got? I'm gonna drink something.
Sorry. Hi. I'm with the Chattanooga Professional Women for Good, and we're relatively new. We're just really in our second giving or grant cycle, starting our third, and we've already had some interesting conflict. And my challenge or question is, we just don't seem to be able to get everyone involved. Everyone, we have almost 100 members, only half are really donating. In this last voting cycle, granting cycle, only 8 people voted. And yet 50 people donated money. So it just surprised me that folks are donating and not participating. Have you seen that with other giving circles?
I have. Okay. I really have. So Lisa, the thing is that with a giving circle, because we are providing space for people to show up when they can, how they can, right? And it kind of goes to kind of what I was saying about the consensus and consent. That's why we have that, because there's some things we just gotta, we're always gonna open up for everybody to include, but then we got some decisions to make, and that's gonna require us to, some people to fall off on the wayside. It is what it is, but that's okay though. I try to encourage all giving circles to continue. Annually, y'all should be checking in with your members, meaning annually, hey, Lisa, just noticed, want to make sure that you're still, are you still interested in being a part of the giving circle, right? Annually, you should have some kind of way where y'all are checking in. I know Heritage does, where we send it out. We have a renewal, basically, where we renew. We want you back into Heritage. We've enjoyed being in community with you. Would you like? And with that call to action, whenever we're asking members to renew their membership, renew their pledges or whatnot, we have had fall off where we have members that tell us, well, Ty, life is life in me, and I just can't show up, but I still want to donate. And so, Lisa, the goal is for us to be able to move money, build community as well, all of those things. And so I would take those donations and contributions. That is their form of engagement. Maybe it's different than another person that shows up to every single meeting that's like, put me in, coach. I want to facilitate. I want to give. I want to donate. I want to show up, right? Right. It's all those things. All our circle provide the space for everybody to kind of place themselves in the movement. And that's the beauty of it, right? And so I just would encourage y'all, all of you, including us, myself included. I've thought about this. We now have created avenues of what we will never dare not say active, non-active. We don't like that language, but we now have created 2 separate engagement plans for our most active members. Like those are the ones that we know show up, that are more likely to join our committees, right? That are gonna, right? And then those that we already know they're just gonna give their donations, but they still need to be engaged though. So them, it's like keeping them in the loop of our newsletters, the events, right? So we have different ways in how we engage our members based off how they're showing up. And I would encourage y'all to do the same. Don't worry about the people who are just, I wouldn't say don't worry about them like that, meaning don't stress your pretty little head, Lisa, on like, why isn't this person right? That person just might be in the thick of life. And that's okay. The circle should be there as a grounding and right opportunity that's there for them to come back and get into community when they're ready. Now, for those of your circle members that where you're like, well, we're one of the best practices for our circle, y'all might not agree with it or whatnot, but we apply pressure with our members. When we are falling short of our fundraising goal, and I say fundraising goals, but like if we say, y'all, this cycle, this year, we really want to raise 20K so we can award blah, 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 blah. We really do put pressure on our members in the way of storytelling. Without your support, we need you. We have a lot of call to actions, like our language. Our language is in alignment with our culture, because we're very straightforward, candid kind of circle in how we explicitly say things. And that shows up even with our call to actions with our members. So we have said things like that. We only had half of our sisters to show up like, y'all, we know we can do much better than that. Like, where are y'all at, sisters, right? And so and then people will be like, I'm so sorry, I meant to do it last night, Ty. And, and then we get that feedback. So I would encourage y'all to the language, spice up y'all language, again, it goes back to the culture of your giving circle, but be okay with saying the things. If half of your members are showing up, say that. Ladies, gentlemen, we got half of you all show up, but we need you, right? And say the things. Being transparent is a huge piece of having hard conversations, Melissa. So think about that and lean into that. Different ways in how you can engage your most engaged and least engaged members. And then 2, don't be scared of the language to really move people to get back into community and to do better with the way that they show up for the circle.
That's some great advice. And I love the idea that, because when I first joined the Giving Circle, my plan was to donate. That was what I wanted to do. And I got called in to lead, and I'm thrilled for that and very grateful for it. But that's really great, sage advice. And I like the idea of kind of 2 different engagement plans, one for those who want to be active and one for those who want to participate, but perhaps not at as active of a level. And I love the language suggestions, get people excited. So that's all great advice. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Lisa. Y'all get people excited. The moment that our circles and our stuff feels boring and like work, people are going to disengage. Circles are an opportunity for us to provide people with a different type of way of being in community that's really amplified and fun and warm, and they can see themselves and we can learn from one another. So lean into those kind of opportunities. Think about the power. That's why I started with what is a giving circle. Y'all use that. Really think about that. What is it? It is an experience. Giving circles are an experience. It's an experimental way of giving. Very different than checkbook philanthropy. So it should not be just where people give their money and that's it. And we don't think about all the ways and how we can love and support them and lean into learn, connecting and serving opportunities, Yeah, Jessica, you had the same type of question. Oh, I'm so glad that was helpful. But yeah, my circle, again, I told y'all, our circle has changed so much. In 2017, I kid you not, we were like, there was no manual, there was no philanthropy together. We were just trying shit. And we just like, we're doing it. And we had an idea. We saw inequities in Dallas. It was driving us nuts. My background is a fundraiser. I just was like, there gotta be more people. Like, I know I should have more Black donors in my portfolio. I didn't, they were all rich, wealthy people from Highland Park. That was like mostly, and that experience was for a lot of my sisters who were fundraisers or nonprofit. Heritage is also different in that way. A lot of our members we have nonprofit backgrounds in philanthropy and fundraising. But we took that, Lisa. So that experience in the very beginning, we didn't want to, we knew that we wanted to birth heritage, and we knew it was going to be radical, it was going to ruffle some feathers, but we still tried to kind of, like, our language was still soft, let's just say that in the beginning. But as we really we just, listening to our grantee partners, listening to their stories on how their organizations almost folded, listening to their horror stories about just their experience with coming in front of funders and what those funders had them doing. how they felt. We were like, we got some work to do to really change the heart of the philanthropic sector here in Dallas. That starts with funders all the way to the community leaders. So we tackled that and we started having conversations about the inequities in funding in Dallas. That ruffled feathers a lot. But we had to have those, we transitioned from that first year and a half where I remember we were just, we were very soft and still learning. But year 2 and 3, we kind of were like, and then that was right around George Floyd. We did a lot of organizing. Heritage does a lot of beyond the dollar community work. So I am an activist and an organizer at heart. So just us being on the front lines, literally being on the bridge in Dallas, protesting being in the thick of the protests with George Floyd and all that changed. How could we ever go back to, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what I say, your circle, the evolution of your members, the language, all of that stuff is going to change in alignment with the sign of the times as well. Now I feel like the time is right for us, y'all, to be having intentional conversations, rooted, loving conversations, where we're not doing harm, but to say the things, right? We need that. Philanthropy needs that accountability. Sorry, I'm going on a TED Talk like I'm rambling now, but I appreciate y'all so much. Gabby, do you have my link for the one-on-one, or are you going to send it out via email?
Yes, I will send it out via email. And I also wanted to plug the panel that you are hosting, Taisha, on August 15th, which is part of Black Philanthropy Month, called Back Black Through Giving Circles, to address some of these disparities that Taisha talked about at the beginning of this. So I'm putting that in the chat. And I will also include, if you want a you can talk about this more, but if you want to have a one-on-one session with Taisha to work through conflict in your group, whatever it is, I will include in the follow-up her Calendly link, so you can easily book some time in with her directly as well.
Yeah, I would love to meet with y'all one-on-one. Lisa, all of y'all, like if needed, just please take advantage of it. And we can workshop and talk through. You can bring your leaders, like we really can do all the things. I've done all kinds of stuff, writing language, writing email, like whatever you want to use the space for is what that one-on-one time is for. And y'all continue to engage. I'm on LinkedIn, as well as I'm going to drop a link for this, our new, we created a Facebook group. It's called the Global Collective Giving Movement. And so if y'all are on Facebook, join this group. You can share, post. It's no different than any other groups or whatnot, but it's a group for us, for giving circles, and those of us that are really passionate and that are in the movement of collective giving. And so I hope you all found this art of facilitation. I don't know if it was an art, but just this conversation around facilitation for your giving circles exclusively valuable. Gabby and I want to have more of these workshops. We're going to repeat them. It's like, we have a values workshop. We have a facilitation workshop. What's the other one, Gabby?
Select criteria for your nonprofits, value setting. Those are 2 different ones as well.
Exactly. So if there are, we're open to y'all ideas as well, talking about consensus. If there is anything top of mind that you are dealing with your giving circle, you're like, oh, I'd love to go to a workshop, or if I would love to attend a training on this, shoot Gabby an email or me. We, in real life, will actualize it and host a workshop if we have enough people that are saying that that's something that they'll want to have. Okay, because stronger together, we're stronger together, y'all. Take good care of yourselves. Try to support a Black-led nonprofit this month. Learn about Black Philanthropy Month. And I hope that y'all will join us for the Back Black Through Giving Circles event next week on the 15th. It's going to be a really good conversation.
And if you do select a Black-led nonprofit for your next granting cycle, we will be adding $500 to your grant pot. So just putting that out there, and I put a little bit about that in the chat as well.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, Taisha. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you at the next one. Thanks again, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.